And welcome in upstate. It is time for some Clemson football. Tomorrow night, 8 p.m., the ACC opener. It's the Clemson Tigers, 2-0 on the year. They will be hosting the Virginia Cavaliers, 1-0 after a win over Duke last week. But, Joe, it's great to be back here at Lakeside Lodge on a Friday night because, quite frankly, I missed all of y'all last week.
Absolutely. I missed you, too. And it's good to get back here at Lakeside Lodge and start talking some football. You know, the players need a little bye every now and again, but it's always good to get back in Death Valley and watch them play.
Well, I mean, it's interesting. I want to see how the players react this week if they have to play longer than a half. Because, let's be honest, I mean, they got a bye week last week, but they've also, the starters have gotten a bye third and fourth quarters in the opening two games as well. So, I don't know how much things are going to improve after Clemson beat this Virginia team in the ACC championship game back in December in Charlotte, 62-17. But I think that they will put up a little bit stronger fight tomorrow in Death Valley.
Yeah, it should be a little more interesting game. Virginia, always a very disciplined team. They remind me a little bit of Wake Forest as far as the discipline goes. They're a better team than Wake Forest. But it should be an interesting game. They don't have the firepower or the talent that Clemson does, and I think they're going to try to play a game in a phone booth, so to speak, and keep it close and elongate the game and run the ball a lot and whatever. But the talent Clemson has will overtake them in the end.
No doubt. The Tigers are a 26-point favorite over the Cavaliers tomorrow night for a reason. In stopping, and getting prepared for this week's show, what Clemson football is doing and is on the verge of doing, it's quite frankly, it's unheard of. 23 straight wins against ACC opponents right now. They've won 44 of their last 46 games against ACC opponents, and those only two losses were to Syracuse and Pitt in there. So pretty amazing territory of what Dabo Swinney has. And after last week, watching LSU go down, the defending national champion, even though that's a shell of what Clemson faced in the Sugar Bowl back in January, it just, in Oklahoma going down as well, I think the credit goes on this coaching staff and the team itself for just playing the person in the mirror. That's a mantra they preach week after week.
Yeah, that's where the whole game is. You gotta, every morning when you get up and you wash your face and start brushing your teeth, that's the guy that you need to focus in on. Obviously, whenever you're watching film and looking at your opponent, you want to see the things they do, what's their best move, what's the things they do well, what are their weaknesses. But really, when it gets down to it, how can I make me a better player? And that's the thing that I've been so impressed with Dabo Swinney. This guy back in 2008, he started talking about all in. And he had a vision of what could happen here. And it's been amazing how systematic it's been, the improvement. Now I think to me that we're the number one team in the country as far as a program. Obviously, we're ranked number one, but there's a difference between being the number one team and the number one program. Last year, LSU was the number one team.
That's right.
They're not the number one program. And I think Clemson has really got themselves in a great position right now.
Well, I also think, Joe, before we start setting up what we'll do in the show here, is the consistency on the coaching staff. I think you saw LSU, losing Joe Brady, their passing game coordinator last year, to the Carolina Panthers, and a whole slew of other coaches. That's when we realized maybe Ed Orgeron has done the ultimate job of trying to surround himself with good coaches, but right now, they're having a little problem this year.
Huge problem. 623 yards. Mike Leach comes in from Oregon State, comes into Mississippi State. He breaks the SEC record, all-time record for yards in a game, 623 yards.
Brings a Stanford quarterback in from out there on the West Coast and sets history, and then you realize this is going to get broken a few times as we go on through here. Right now, in all three of the polls, the top five remains the same. Clemson's number 1, Alabama 2, Florida 3, Georgia 4, Notre Dame 5, and of course they will start cycling in Big Ten teams as they start playing here in October as well. But again, my Georgia friends were mumbling big time when they were up 7-5 at Arkansas this past weekend, and what's going on here? And that's why I find it even more impressive how Clemson's gone out in the first half of these games and just handled their business.
Yeah, Dabo Sweeney does such a great job of finding just the littlest toehold to find and focus in on to get his team motivated. Texas A&M and Georgia both, it was baffling to watch those two teams play last week. They're very talented teams, but boy, they were really struggling. And you know, hopefully they'll get it turned around this week. But you know, it's a good time to be a Clemson Tiger.
Hey, you know, I had a friend of mine that who is not a Clemson fan goes, I can't decide if it would be boring or what to be a Clemson fan right now, because even the games are over at halftime. You know what I mean? I said it's just uncharted territory. That you know, how's the fan base going to react again if they get in a game like North Carolina last year and it's not 49-7? You know?
I got a better word. It's exciting to be a Clemson Tiger fan.
You are
and
correct.
you know, and there's going to be a hiccup somewhere along the line. You got 18 to 22-year-old kids out there. And they're going to lose a little focus. They're going to lose a little concentration, and you're going to have a game somewhere during the course of this year. But you know, you just got to play well enough to win, and then once you kind of get that wake-up call, refocus yourself and get back at it.
Well, it's always good to get back at it here at Lakeside Lodge. It is Clemson's only resort experience. And listen, we've got the Eric Weiler Group performing tonight. We already had a great set of them playing acoustically. The whole band's going to get going outside of Traditions Restaurant when we get done here. Also, you know, you can go to lakesidelodgeclemson.com. You can rent a room. You can purchase a condo. You can get a wedding set up, a whole bunch of things. But the food's great, the bar's great, the pool bar, of course, your buddy Jim Riggs and the pool that he's put in here is absolutely next level from Hot Springs Pool and Spas. And we just want to thank Leighton and Shane, and we're actually going to be bringing Shane on here in a little bit. They've got tailgating here at Lakeside Lodge starting at noon tomorrow, and guess what you can't do over on campus, or you're not supposed to do.
Yeah, I think there'll be a few rule breakers on that.
I got the feeling on this gorgeous weather here, no doubt about it. Also, we've got the line of BYOG gear here. You know, these Albemarle, you know, the sweatshirts, and of course that will go to benefit the All In Foundation and Dabo Sweeney, and of course just a lot of great things going on. And we want to thank Eagles as well, because they're located in 6 states and they're one of our sponsors as well. But here's what we've got coming up for you tonight. In about 10 minutes, we'll be joined by Clemson sideline reporter and former running back Reggie Mayweather, one of the prides of North Augusta High School, no doubt. And of course, he gets a really inside look at this program every week, being the sideline reporter. We'll also be joined by Bob Mahoney from the Block C Club. We have a guest picker later on that we'll try not to let slip out of the bag too much, but again, kind of exemplifies Clemson over the last 40 years. And see maybe if we can't get Bob back up here to pick some games, because for the first weekend, I like some of these matchups that we are seeing out there, and we've already seen some chaos so far.
Oh yeah, a lot more chaos to come.
But you can always get us at ClemsonSportsNews.com. Follow us on Twitter at ClemSportsNews. Great crowd out here at Lakeside Lodge. We're going to be rocking outside the restaurant here at 9 o'clock. But, you know, maybe the most talented and definitely the best looking of the three of us is our sideline reporter, if you will, Cindy Green Isaacs. And that's one of the best parts of the night, is to check in around here at Lakeside Lodge and find out what Cindy Green Isaacs is up to. And Cindy, go ahead and give us an update.
Hey there, guys. Well, I tell you what could be better than a Friday night before a Clemson home game here at the Lakeside Lodge Resort, with Tiger fans and football fans packing it in. Last weekend, or the weekend before last, the Lakeside Lodge had their first tailgate party, and it was a great event. I'm here with my good friend Shane Bounds, who is the regional manager for the Lakeside Lodge Resort, and he also oversees the tailgate party. So Shane, tell us, what can we expect at that tailgate party?
Tomorrow we have the football field. We're going to open it up at noon. We'll have plenty of really good food, ribs, pulled pork, lots of sides. The event's open, you know, for the field. throw a football, throw the kids. Great for, anybody out there doing that. And we hope to have everyone out.
Now, I tell you, this event is not just for your hotel guests. Am I correct?
No, we're completely open to the public. We'd love to have all Tiger fans out here.
That'd be wonderful. And what are we allowed to bring into the tailgate party?
Okay, anyone who coming, we would love for them to bring chairs. If you want to bring a canopy tent, anything that tailgate supplies, bring it out. We do not allow coolers or anything like that, but we will have a full bar as well as food. Everything will be outside, ready for you to come out and have a good time.
I think that's a great idea because guess what? They have limited the amount of hours that you can be in the parking lot at the stadium. So this opens up at 12 o'clock. Have a pre-tailgate party. Come on out, Shane. Thanks so much. It's good to see you again. And I tell you what, guys, I'm going to be here tomorrow to mingle with the tailgaters. And folks, Clemson has 4 more home games. If you have not already booked your hotel room here at the resort, I suggest you do so as soon as possible because here's the tailgate party, the best outside of Death Valley.
The best thing I can think of is when we went to Santa Clara to play Alabama in the last national championship game. All the disinterest in college football. I bet you I was asked 15 times, hey, I see all you guys with orange on. I didn't know the 49ers were playing. And trying to explain that, hey, it's a college game, we're playing Alabama. Oh. But we're so fortunate to be in the South. Football is king, and it's a great sport. And, we talked about Ed Emery earlier. What a great man. He ended up being a coach and high school coach in North Carolina, but he recruited me, recruited Jeff, recruited a lot of guys from North Carolina, Dwight Clark, and any number of guys that played here at Clemson and really were part of Clemson being turned around in the late 70s.
Well, Ryan has been a really good friend to me over the years, and also he's a resident from here in the upstate, pride of Travelers Rest High School. And he and his brother Sam traveled around watching his dad call games, and that's how Ryan ended up at the University of Tennessee, standing on a sideline. And he was just impressed with Knoxville, and that's where he ended up going to college. But of course, Ryan McGee from ESPN, you can follow him on Twitter at ESPN McGee. And here's a little time that I caught up with Ryan McGee earlier this week. The pride of Travelers Rest, South Carolina, our good friend Ryan McGee, the old TR Devil Dog, Tennessee Volunteer. But Ryan, we know you from Marty and McGee and all the great work you've done with ESPN. But you and your dad and brother have a great book out called Sidelines and Bloodlines: A Father, His Sons, and Our Life in College Football. Give me an idea of how that concept came about.
Well, so growing up around sports officials, and I think this is true, this because you talk to the guy who umpires your kids t-ball games, all the way to an NBA referee, to my dad who's officiated college football for 40. Say, man, I could write a book. Mm-hmm. And that's always it's like the running joke with all officials, man, I could write a book. And about a year ago, I went to my dad and my brother. I go, man, I think we could actually write the book that everybody always talks about. And so I knew Dad's stories, and I knew how my brother and I grew up with football, and I knew our stories. And it's about what did the referee yell at your dad, or what did Danny Ford do that night during the South Carolina Clemson game, or whatever. But it's also about us as a family. And I love the title of the book so much because that's really it. I mean, it's sidelines and bloodlines. So I can't imagine the McGees being the McGees without college football. And I can't imagine my life without college football. My love for college football started because, I mean, I was when I was born, my dad had just started his first season as a college football official and a small college. And when I was a teenager, he started in the ACC. And so it's always been a part of my life. His last game was in 2009. So it's always been a part of our lives, and it's how I learned the game, and it's how, you know, our family learned to love each other, going to games.
Yeah, and one of the guys you told me that's name comes up often in here is Ed Emery, and you know, a former Clemson coach who is actually responsible for not just Joe Bostic, but Jeff Bostic, his little brother, being at Clemson as well. And I just kind of found that ironic because the more stories I find out about Ed Emery, I'm really sorry I did not meet this man.
Hey man, I'm sorry. I didn't hear any of that. Yeah, I didn't hear, you were frozen the whole. All I heard at the end was this man.
Yeah, and I'll go edit this. Ed Emery, you know, he is highly featured in your book, and it's a man that I really wish I could have met because he's responsible for not only Joe Bostic, my co-host, being at Clemson, but also his little brother Jeff, who went on to become the famous Hog on the Redskins line.
Yeah, and Ed Emery, so in my world, I was born in eastern North Carolina, Rockingham. My dad and my brother were both born there, my mother too. And Ed Emery in eastern North Carolina is on the football Mount Rushmore. I mean, he coached high school football forever. He coached at Wadesboro High School, which is now it's now Anson County, which is a superpower in high school football. He coached at Richmond County in Rockingham, where my family was all born. He was the head coach at East Carolina University. He played football there. Was an amazing offensive lineman, and it went on to be the head coach there, and had arguably the best year East Carolina's ever had in football. And so, and then went back to high school coaching, and I mean, he had a career at Wake Forest, Clemson, all these places, and went back to high school coaching. And then my first sports writing gig was for the Monroe Enquirer Journal in Monroe, North Carolina. And there I am interviewing Ed Emery. You know, we kind of came full circle, but he's the legend, man. When he was at Wadesboro, my dad officiated a huge game at Wadesboro High School. And tradition held, when you did a game at Wadesboro High School, there's just one little steakhouse in town, and the referees were always welcome to stop there and get something to eat before they drove home. Well, my dad and Jerry Brooks, who played college football at East Carolina with Ed Emery, another East Carolina guy was in the crew. And then everyone's like, man, we're going to win this game. I got my boys in this game. And they lost. And Jerry Brooks, who's one of my dad's dearest friends, said, hey, we're going to go get dinner at this place. And Dad was like, man, I don't think we probably welcome there. That big call we just had against these guys in the fourth quarter. He goes, oh, no. Ed Emery would never do that. And so they went, and Dad said it was like the Long Branch Saloon in Gunsmoke. So the guys wiping the bar down, and the referees walked in. It was like a record scratch. And the music stopped, and that guy was like, what the hell are y'all doing here? And they said, well, Coach Emery, you know, we always get to come eat. He said, yeah, Coach Emery called, and he said, if those criminals come down here, you call the police. So they learned a lesson that day. You can only be friends up to a point.
That's right.
And if you're going to be an official, you got to learn separation emotionally and professionally and personally.
My question is, would you have eaten the plate that they sat down for
No.
you that night?
And again, Ed Emery, who recruited you here, I wouldn't have touched that meal. And I know the steakhouse he's talking about up there. They're only open on Saturday nights, and they only serve one thing. It's a ribeye steak, and they bring it out, and they start at 8 inches or 8 ounces, 10 ounces, 12. They were not welcome that night. That's college football in the South, Joe.
Yep, it sure is.
So, again, the Tigers, 2-0 on the season against Virginia, 1-0 tomorrow night at 8 p.m. And we'll be bringing Reggie Mayweather on in the next segment. But last week, Virginia gets a 38-20 win over the Duke Blue Devils. And I was impressed with the quarterback of the Virginia Cavaliers. He's a sophomore. He's a left-hander. And like Dabo Swinney called him Tuesday during the press conference, I thought it was very apropos. He said he's a young Steve Young. He is a left-hander by the name of Brennan Armstrong, and he completed 25 of 45 passes last week for 269 yards. They also have a running back, and I challenge you to get his name correct.
I don't know if I will get it. Talapapa.
Kalapapa, but
he gained 95 yards last week, and he averaged 5.9 yards a carry. And I do believe that when Coach Venables gets done with him, his average will be a little lower after tomorrow.
I'm hoping so, but here's one place, sometimes the human element takes over in matchups as well, and pay attention tomorrow. I don't know how many catches he'll get. He had 4 last week for 101 yards, I believe it was. But he's a freshman wide receiver from right here in the state of South Carolina by the name of Lavelle Davis. You will recognize him on the field because he's 6'7", and he has a wingspan of nothing that I've seen in college football in a long, long time.
Yeah, the little bit of film I saw on Lavelle Davis, there was a wide receiver when I was playing ball in the pros, and some of y'all may remember, played for the Philadelphia Eagles. Harold Carmichael,
Yes.
6'8", arms, like a basketball player. He is going to present a challenge for the defensive backs. When you start having those Mike Williams 50-50 balls, you got a guy 6'7", you got a 5'10" DB. It's going to be a little hard for him to jump up there and grab the ball with the guy having that much height advantage. So he will present a challenge. They've got another wide receiver named Kent, and he reminds me a little bit of Hunter Renfrow, a little quick guy, slot guy, quick and good hands. I think he caught 7 balls last week. So with the quarterback Brennan Armstrong, Mike, a Steve Young sort of guy, left-hander, can move around, rush for 47 yards, did the passing. His biggest problem is he averaged 6 yards per attempt. Now, 6 yards per attempt means he's dinking and dunking.
That's right.
And to put it in comparison with Trevor Lawrence is averaging 14 yards per attempt. So they're not going to be able to beat the Tigers unless he can make some big plays. They're going to try to keep it in a phone booth, but from time to time they need to stretch the field, go downfield, and loosen up Brent Venables' defense.
And the other thing that he's not going to be able to do, Brennan Armstrong at quarterback, is outrun Clemson's defensive ends just due to the speed. I mean, Duke did not have that on defense, but Bronco Mendenhall enters his 5th year as Virginia head coach, and they were 9-5 last year. And I think the Cavaliers have gotten a lot of bang for their buck so far with Bronco Mendenhall. Made it to the Orange Bowl before they lost to Florida, but 2 years ago, he maybe made one of the most honest comments that I've ever heard at media days when he said, I maybe have 40 players that are Division I caliber coming out of fall camp, and we're like, oh my God, they're going to be terrible. And I think they went on to win 5 or 6 games that year, and then of course that manifested itself with a trip to the ACC.
Yeah, he's a big-time coach. His brother, I played against his brother. He's got a brother named Matt Mendenhall, who played many years with the Washington Redskins. But Bronco is a heck of a coach. You get the plug-and-play guys. Guys can recruit the 5-star guys. He's not that guy. He's the guy that's recruiting 3-star guys that are tight ends that he's going to put 40 pounds on, make offensive tackles. He's a developmental coach. So the longer he stays at Virginia, they're going to consistently get better and better and better. So, look for big things out of Virginia in the next few years, but it's not going to happen tomorrow night.
It won't happen tomorrow night, and if he continues his run, he will not be at the University of Virginia for a long, long time ahead. Now, when we come back, we're going to be joined by our good friend Reggie Mayweather, the pride of North Augusta, former running back, played here at Clemson from 2003 to 2006, currently serves as a sideline reporter for the Clemson broadcast crew. But one of the guys that I think about, Joe, when it comes to Clemson athletics, he is the color commentator for Clemson baseball throughout the season. Bob Mahoney, he played baseball here at Clemson, And you talk about a man that loves Clemson. He's in charge of the Block C Club, but Cindy Green Isaac's going to be able to spend some time with our good friend Bob Mahoney.
Yes, I am. I am here with Bob Mahoney, and I tell you what, no matter what area of Clemson athletics you are a part of, there is a club for you to join where you can enjoy the fellowship and the community with a special group of Clemson Tigers. I'm here with Bob Mahoney, who is the director of the Block C Club, and that consists of student athletes, coaches, cheerleaders, mascots, and even equipment managers. And Bob, tell me a little bit about the Block C Club.
Well, it's an organization that does represent those groups that you mentioned, and really the purpose of the Block C Club is to keep those folks, mainly our student athletes, connected to Clemson athletics. And we've grown in the last 5 or 6 years, mainly because of technology. I mean, technology has really kind of elevated really how effective we are as an organization. So it really does help. But we try to do 4 different things with our former student athletes. We try to make sure we have a lot of fellowship. We're responsible for a lot of the reunions, which this year, as we were talking about before we got on, a lot of that doesn't happen this year, but we have a lot of reunions for a lot of our sports. Our big one, obviously, is football. We usually do 5 different years, every season, and it's always fun having those guys back on campus. But we do it for most of our other sports too, and it's usually during football season that we do those. That's number 1, is fellowship. We do a recognition piece. I think it's important to recognize the success of your student athletes once they leave, and all of them are pro athletes. So we're very fortunate to have a lot of successful people, whether they go into medicine, whether they go into construction, whatever they do, and we want to make sure we recognize their efforts. And the other thing we recognize are some of the guys that may be going through tough times, and kind of give them some attention. Like right now, I was trying to get hold of Brian Mance today, who played back in the early 2000s, who really has gone through some tough medical things, and we want to make sure that our former student athletes know about what he's going through. But there's a lot of our former athletes that need to be recognized. The other thing we do is outreach, both to our current student athletes and to our former student athletes, to make sure they know what's going on campus. We do that through a network we call it the Block C Network, which is it's kind of like a website just for Block C people, and they can go on there, and there's a lot of resources. And the thing that we've really been able to do this year, which has really been fun, I say fun, during this COVID time, we've been able to keep our student athletes up with what's going on campus, because there's a lot more than what's going on in athletics with all this. How is COVID affecting the rest of campus, and what kind of decisions is the president having to make? And we've been able to get a lot of that information out to keep them up with what's happening at Clemson during how we handling this. And it's a day-by-day thing often, so we've been able to keep them up with that. And the other thing is just education. Let them know how things are changing on campus. And one of the things we're trying to do better is to get our current student athletes more educated on how to stay connected to Clemson and Clemson athletics and Clemson, and it's through the Block C Club. And that's where we're really beginning to have a lot of success. I've got an assistant that works for me that's outstanding. I've had a lot of assistants that have really been good. They've all moved on to bigger and better things for some reason, but right now it's Jordan Rope, who played basketball here, who had his own little issues when he first got to Clemson, had a stroke, went through some really tough times, but came on as a really good player for Coach Brownell, and now an assistant, and is just great on outreach, does a great job with our former student athletes. And it's good to have somebody that reaches out to basketball, because it's easy to reach out to our football players. We see them quite a bit, but we need to get these basketball guys tied back in. And with my connections to baseball, it's not so hard to keep baseball players connected too, but we're beginning to reach out to a lot of our other sports and getting them tied back into Clemson.
That is wonderful. And you also are involved with, the Block C Club is actually involved with the Clemson Hall of Fame. Tell me a little bit about that.
We are. We're involved with the Hall of Fame and selecting honorary captains for each one of our games. The Hall of Fame is really kind of my baby. I love the Hall of Fame. I really enjoy it because it gives me a chance, as long as I've been around Clemson. And I started back in 1972, believe it or not. I know I don't look that old. But I've seen a lot of athletes come through here, and it's just when we go through the selection process, there's a Block C Club board that we have. It's a really good board, and it's mostly made up of former student athletes here. Many of them are Hall of Famers themselves. They're on the board, so we get together every year, and we make selections, but a lot of those selections are based on what people send in. We actually send out through a lot of the IPTE periodicals that you can select somebody. If you think somebody's deserving of being in the Hall of Fame, you can send it in. We usually have a deadline to have it in, and we get all those names together, and I get all the letters that were sent in and make sure our committee sees everything and every person that was nominated, so we have a chance to do some research. And then I use Clemson Google, who is Tim Beret, to help me do the research on all those guys and ladies, and we come up with a class. And we've had some and I get to call them, and that's what's really exciting. Once we select a class, you get to call them all and tell them they're in. And this year we had just an unbelievable class. We had eight of them that were going in, and don't get to recognize them this year, so we're going to hold off on recognizing this class until next year. I think one of the other guests that's going to be on, Billy D, he's actually part of this 2000 class, along with Trevor Booker and C.J. Spiller and some really, really outstanding student athletes. So that's a lot of fun.
That is, and I'm gonna be a testimony for you, because I can remember my dad, the only man ever in my life that has been recruited by Clemson and actually played for Clemson football with Coach Howard, and he brought me to some of the Block C functions, and I can, yes it was, and I can remember him having a fellowship with about 4 to 5 football players for over 55 years. They had this fellowship, they met, and then it got to be at the Block C Club events. He actually met some basketball players, and the next thing you know, we have basketball players and these football players back in their day that are coming to my dad's tailgate party. So the Block C Club, when I got my letter in the mail, I was so proud. I was so proud to get that letter in the mail and be able to send that in to you guys. So I'm telling you what, I know you're going to be joining them up on the stage really soon, so I'm going to throw it back to you guys. So thanks so much for coming.
Thanks for having me. I really do appreciate it. It's good to be here.
Always a pleasure to hear from Bob Mahoney again. Played at Clemson, and maybe you know who the guest picker is going to be in the final segment now, but that's a lifetime. That is a lifetime of Clemson athletics between those two men, Bill DeAndrea as well as Bob Mahoney.
You know, before they had the stands over at Doug Kingsmore, I used to sit on the hill after practice in the 70s, and Bob was one of the great pitchers over there, and I loved to watch him pitch. And his uniform was starched. I mean, everything lined up. He looked perfect, and what a great performer and a great player, and has represented Clemson so well. And he's a far, far better person than he ever was a ball player, and he was a great ball player. And he's been a dear friend to me for over 40 years, and I really love Bob Mahoney. He's a good man and loves Clemson, and just a good person.
Speaking of great players that loves Clemson University, our live guest is going to be former running back and current sideline reporter Reggie Mayweather, and of course our highlight packages are brought to you by Hall of Fame Sports Grill. That's 531 Wade Hampton Boulevard in Greenville. You can go online, find out everything you need to know at HallOfFameSportsGrill.com, which includes bar trivia for dummies on Tuesday nights, Wednesday nights music bingo, Thursday night dirty bingo, Friday night is karaoke, and then they have tailgating in the parking lot. You can bring your grills and everything. They've got 80-inch TVs out there. Again, 531 Wade Hampton Boulevard. But here's a quick package that we put together on our good friend Reggie Mayweather, the pride of North Augusta, South Carolina. bring on our good friend Reggie Mayweather, the former running back and current sideline reporter. And, you know, I'm so blessed every week to sit up here and be surrounded by people that love this university and the difference that it made for them. But it's also, you know, I'm a huge believer, Reggie. You can't take chips out of the pot unless you put some in, you know what I mean? And here are two guys, and Bob Mahoney and Billy D. I mean, we're covered by Clemson legends tonight.
I tell you what, definitely a rich tradition, and kind of one of the things that brought me to Clemson. Not only did I know people that played here, it was obviously guys that came back to North Augusta and said, hey, man, this is where it's at. You know, there's something in these hills, and I really believe in that. And so, obviously, I came, you know, put my chips into the bucket and, you know, try to advocate for Clemson every chance I get.
Yeah, the chip and the all-in chip. But real quickly, just found this out a couple of minutes ago. Our buddy Joe Bostic became a grandfather for the 4th time today.
Hey!
Congratulations to the Bostic family.
I know I don't look old enough.
And then your much better half, Jamie, who is not here with us tonight. We want to send her our well wishes coming off of surgery that she had.
At 7:23 a.m. this morning, a 9-pound 4-ounce baby girl, 22 inches long.
There you go.
That sounds like baby girl.
Joanna Rose Boland.
Okay.
So she's about 12 hours old.
Well, congratulations to the Bostic family. But Reggie, you know, you gave it all. You were a talented running back here from 2003 to 2006, but I think you probably even have a better understanding what this Clemson program's all about now as you've transitioned from playing to covering and reporting it and seeing all the nuances that go into it.
Yeah, absolutely. And you start talking about, you know, legacy, right? You start talking about all the guys that have came and went, all the great, you know, presidents, you know, academic advisors, that type of stuff. ADs, you're talking about Bill DeAndre here, you know, to be able to set things in motion, you know, to take Clemson from what it was, which basically was a mid-level program here in the ACC, and, you know, 5, 6, 7 win season. Now your expectations are 10, 11, 12 in the championship. So to see these guys and see what the groundwork that they've laid, right, for people like myself to be able to come and play and, you know, have high expectations. Again, the proof is in the pudding. Then, you know, Bill DeAndre going and sticking his neck out for, you know, Coach Dabo Swinney. Now he shared his vision with the town, the city, and the program is just trending. It's trending in the right direction, as Carolina would say. But it's awesome to see, again, all these guys come back and contribute, and everywhere you go, the Paul really means something these days, which, you know, back in my time, you know, if you wore a Clemson shirt to, you know, China or somewhere else, they probably wouldn't know what it is. But, you know, Dabo Swinney and the program now and how they've carried themselves in the championships that they've won, the Paul is definitely national, globally recognized now.
Absolutely. You know, Reggie, I was, remember, I don't know if it was 2004 or 2006. We're playing South Carolina. We end up losing. But I'm in the stands up there, and toward the latter part of the 3rd quarter and the early 4th quarter, they started giving you the ball. And I mean, you were stumbling, bumbling. I mean, you were 6, 8, 12 yards per carry. And then, I don't know if you got hurt, but they just didn't give you the ball anymore. And I'm like, give the ball to Reggie. And but it was, you know, one of the few times we lost to them. But I'll tell you what, I firmly believe to this day, if they would have kept giving you the ball, we would have won that game.
Yeah, drove down and missed a field goal, and, you know, a lot of sad hearts that day. Jad Dean, poor guy. But, you know, we, you know, again, that person is no longer with us. I think that, again, after that kind of started the downfall of Bowden. But if you look at what, you know, Tommy was able to put in place with this program, and the people that he hired and the people that he brought in, I mean, again, he saw it trending in the right direction. And despite, you know, losing that game and then, you know, getting fired that next season, it was snowballing. It was already rolling.
Well, there's thousands of guys that put a little pebble in the wall.
Exactly.
And you know, you and me and guys that did a lot more than I ever did. But you know, and
We love you, Reggie.
And the fruits, you know, being born now. Right. And you know, there's been a ton of guys that have contributed and kept this thing rolling. And as old Coach Howard would say, if you ain't going to give me 110%,
Right.
keep your filthy hands off my rock.
Yeah.
So there's been a lot of guys giving 110.
And I've never been able to touch the thing. But again, Reggie Mayweather, the Clemson sideline reporter with us. And, you mentioned Coach Bowden and things were spiraling then. But I think Clemson fans forever are going to have to thank him that you can go at the end of the year, or he's the one that looked at Terry Don Phillips in the eye and said, well, if you're going to think about making this change, what about Dabo Swinney on staff right now?
Yep, absolutely.
And so he will always be credited for that decision, that pivot there on the spot, in my opinion. But you saw it up close with Coach Bowden. What does Dabo mean to y'all now as head coach? Because Joe's a building block of this program. You're a building block of this program. The more players I'm around now want to go out and speak positively about what's going on with the Clemson football program.
And my biggest takeaway from the two of those guys, practice what you preach. And I think the biggest thing, if you look at, we pretty much have the same athletes minus a couple 4- or 5-star guys. We still have the same caliber of guy on the team. But I think from the leadership standpoint, you have to look at it as, hey, Dabo Swinney's not afraid to sit a starter. Dabo Swinney's not afraid to get in the media and tell them what he's thinking. Dabo Swinney's not afraid to, take that next step, that leap, to push the program forward. And I think the leadership part of it, that's the biggest difference between those two. Tommy Vaughn was a great leader. Don't get me wrong. He's a great guy. But I think it takes a lot for somebody to kind of not put themselves to the side, but take a step back and say, hey, this is the greater good for the team. Mm-hmm. I'm going to sit this starter. I'm going to sit this guy. I'm going to practice what I preach, and then go out there and then show the world, basically, hey, this is Clemson football. Clemson football is bigger than Tennessee, bigger than Georgia, bigger than Florida State, bigger than all these big names, right? We want these guys to want to be like us, and now if you see it from outside looking in, Clemson is at the top of the peak, number one in the country, won, 2 championships, been, 4 out of the 5 college football playoffs. And again, when you start putting, the steel in the fire, Clemson always going to come out on top.
Reggie, back when you were playing, the same thing with me. Obviously the teams weren't quite as good as they are now. But, I always had this feeling that this place could be a special place and that this kind of thing could happen.
Right. If you start looking at, again, the players, I tell everybody, I said, man, I played with some first-round guys. If you think about Justin Miller, who obviously high draft pick. You think about Gaines Adams, obviously high draft pick. Charlie Whitehurst, high draft pick. All these guys, every year we had somebody going in the top 2, 3, 4, or 5 rounds. And it's like, man, why are we not better? But again, that comes down to coaching. You surround yourself with people that know the game, that can actually sit down and, relate the X's and O's to a player who's a freshman or a senior. No matter where you are, they can actually relate that. And I think, again, that's the difference between the two coaches. Being able to do that, hire people that know what they're talking about, and be able to lead from the front. And I think that's the biggest deal.
All right, so before we head back out to Cindy Green Isaacs, and we're going to have some questions from the fans coming up here in just a minute. I want to ask you guys, if both of y'all have stood on top of the hill, looked down into the valley, what was a bigger fear? Maybe running the wrong way on a play? Joe's supposed to be pulling to the left and he goes to the right. Or falling down, coming down the hill before a game. I've always wondered, was it ever in the back of y'all's mind that don't fall because I will end up on national TV?
Absolutely. I used to tell guys, get away from me. I don't want you running over me and fall over me. So, it was plenty of time.
Well, and then before, again, this was, 2007? When they actually put the dip in the hill too, because they had people with broken bones and ACLs and all that type of stuff. So, for me, it's like, look, I'm just going to get in the back of the pack. Right. You guys celebrate, do whatever you want to, get on TV, but I'm going to make sure I'll be able to play in the game tonight. So, get down the hill.
That was the biggest fear.
I don't know if you know our photographer here with Clemson Sports News, Zach Hamby. Zach is the all-time greatest from the Peach Bowl win over LSU.
Right.
Taj Boyd, 4th and 16. He showed up to shoot the game with a full tuxedo on New Year's Eve. I'm like, dude, that is just absolutely fantastic. So Zach goes through the whole, during the summer where the guys can come for camp, and Poor guy, he's like, Sturge, will you take some photos? And the guy runs down the hill and tears his ACL before the first play of the game is ever called. But again, Cindy Green Isaac, she's got some questions with the fans. And when we're done with this, we'll take a little bit of a look at the matchup with Virginia tomorrow, the other ACC games of interest, and some national games as well as CSN Live from Lakeside Lodge.
Hey there, I am with Sonia here from Pendleton, South Carolina, and she has a question for you guys.
Hey, how are you? How are you, Reggie? I'm so excited to meet you tonight. So I had a question. So Virginia had 84 offensive plays last week. That's 84. So how is our defense going to be ready for a new defensive this year with Brent and our new guys? So how are they going to be ready for this week since they have not seen the fast tempo defense since this year?
Well, Joe, you're the offensive line, but number one, get them punting the ball. No long extended drives. Get them off the field. Use your speed, but the main thing is you were talking about 6 yards per pass attempt. Yeah, hit the quarterback before he gets back and sets up back there in the pocket.
Well, Brent Venables, he's a master. He's going to take away the run. He's going to make Armstrong beat us. So, take away the run, and then put that pressure. Have old Brian Brzee running after him, and Miles Murphy and the rest of that gang, tormenting this guy. And somewhere around the second, third quarter, he's going to be like, man, I've had enough of this stuff.
And those guys look like full-fledged men as freshmen in college. I mean, the Breezy family has been here at Lakeside Lodge, but Miles Murphy, my goodness. I mean, these are going to be headaches for defensive coordinators for years to come around the Atlantic Coast Conference.
Yeah, I've had the pleasure to meet Miles Murphy, and I've had the pleasure to meet Brice and his family as well too. And I'll tell you what, his parents, that's genetics right there. Yes. For both of those gangs. But it's kind of one of those things too, man. Like you said, Coach Venables has got these guys dialed in, and it seems like every year the chips change, but the game is still the same, and that's what you want out of a coach and a coaching staff.
Yeah, I think Brian. I think he reached manhood before he went through adolescence. So he's a fully grown man.
I agree with that, 110%.
I'm glad I don't have to play against him.
Yeah.
All right. Do we have another question? No. Nope. All right. Well, guess what? I've got lots of questions. Number one, first of all, put pressure on the quarterback. That's the way to stifle the other team's offense. But, the one thing that I love that I've seen from Trevor Lawrence through one game, because let's be honest, not even one game. The 50-50 balls. We talked about Lavelle Davis in the 6'7" wide receiver for Virginia. I think that kind of became a little bit of a comfort zone with Trevor Lawrence last year, having those matchups with T. Higgins and those guys. I haven't seen those 50-50 balls this year. He is hitting everything in rhythm, and maybe more so, the most amazing pass I've seen him complete was to Amari Rogers right there in front of the goalpost against the Citadel 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, you want to take this one first? Well, I tell you what, one of the biggest deals, I think, with the Clemson offense right now, we know the running game's solid, we know the offensive line is solid, but what the question mark is, right, with Ross being out, we've got some guys, right, that have come back to play, Amari Rogers, a couple other guys too, but out on the outside, right, who's taking over for Higgins and who's taking over for Ross. So you've got Ladson, you've got Nagata, you've got Joe, right? So these guys have only played, 5, 6, 7 games total a piece. Yeah, so they're basically freshmen. But a huge difference between game 1 and game 2 for Ladson, right? He's that guy. So when you start talking about Amari Rogers, yes, they have to get him in the game plan more. That post that he ran and almost hit his face on the goal post there was amazing. But we've got other guys that need to step up and be able to take over for, like you said, a Higgins and a Ross that are unavailable this season.
Well, we got this Galloway kid tight end. I mean, he brings a totally different aspect of this passing game. This kid's really big. He's a good blocker, and he's got great hands. He reminds me a lot of Jordan Leggett to some extent.
Yeah.
And then, the two guys to me that really, really improved a ton. Amari Rogers obviously got hurt last year, the year before last. And
I think he's faster now.
Yeah, he looks like he's in a different gear. And Trevor Lawrence, I mean, you know, obviously he was a great quarterback last year. He's completing 81% of his passes. He's averaging 14 yards per attempt. So he's not throwing little 3-yard screens.
Right.
He's throwing the ball downfield, and he's making all the big throws. I mean, this kid is really, you know, you talk about a guy that's got a rocket for an arm. This kid can really throw the ball, and it's got mustard on when he throws.
Yeah, and it's crazy to talk about too, right? So you have NFL analysts come out and say Trevor Lawrence would have been the #1 pick last year, you know, over all these guys from the West Coast and all that. So that says a lot about the quarterback and what he's got going.
All right, so when you look across the ACC this weekend, right now at halftime in a Friday night broadcast, our good friend Eric McLean on the call up there in Winston-Salem on the ACC network, I think, or Wake Forest has a 24-7 lead on the Camels from Boys Creek, North Carolina. Now, I'm going to keep whipping this bull all fall. We said the one coach in the ACC that might have some issues this year is Dave Doeren at NC State. My Wolfpack friends are so upset that they went to Virginia Tech, who was down 23, 24 players due to COVID and everything else last week, and weren't the least bit competitive there in Blacksburg. They're taking on now a 3-0 Pitt team at noon tomorrow, and I think this may be another nail in Dave Doeren's coffin.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. I absolutely agree with that. If you look at NC State and what they've done over the last 2 seasons, they've fallen short. And Pitt is one of those teams, too, that can run the ball well and play defense.
Yeah, Pitt's a salty team. I love watching the way they play. They're just kind of salty.
All right, we'll get into the North Carolina-Boston College game in our guest picker segment coming up next. But at 4 p.m. tomorrow, Virginia Tech at Duke. I love Coach Cutcliffe. He's a great friend. I thought Chase Bryce was going to step into that role a little bit more. And you know what? I really feel sorry for Coach Cut and the fact that they probably played as tough of a schedule coming out as anybody, starting with Notre Dame and then, the loss to Virginia. If Virginia Tech goes in there and knocks off Duke and Durham tomorrow, then this thing may spiral for Chase Bryce and the Blue Devils this fall.
Yeah, honestly, I think, again, Chase Bryce, really good quarterback. I think, again, that whole offense is good, but it takes time to gel. And I think that's what the biggest momentum buster for them is they really hadn't had that quality time together as a team to be able to get down to timing, to get down, the efficiency part of, dink and dunk and whatever they're going to do there. And so they've got a pretty good little running game. But again, if you're, coming up short, 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7, you can't run the ball the entire game like that. So I think Chase Bryce settles down this week, and they may be able to pull off a win.
Now, Jacksonville State at Florida State. I mean, my God, did Miami put a beat down on the Seminoles in what's supposed to be a rivalry game. I mean, Florida State played dead this past weekend. Zarek Cooper, a former Tiger quarterback, will lead this Jacksonville State Gamecock squad into Tallahassee. If Florida State doesn't get a win tomorrow, this thing could really unravel as well, because I started to see a little bit of yippiness on the sideline Saturday night down in Miami.
Yeah, that team, during the off season, I'm sure Reggie feels the same way. When you start having players calling out coaches, I mean, back when I was playing, if I'd have called out Danny Ford, I mean, I don't know.
Rest in peace.
Yeah, I would have been an afterthought. But
you still have that black eye?
But how did this happen? I mean, you win the national championship in 2013.
Yep.
And 7 years later, you're arguably one of the worst teams in the country. And I mean, it's baffling to me.
If you remember that game in 2013 with Taj and crew here in town, CBS Sports Radio hired me. They don't normally at night, for night games, do the live check-in from press boxes. That's during the afternoon. They're like, no, Sturge, we need you to do Friday night. Well, the press box was so packed that night, I was down on the field with you guys, and I'd walk out the west end zone and call into CBS Sports Radio in New York. And at halftime, they said, okay, that's enough.
Well, I tell you what, that night, why it was so packed here, because you had about 5 first-round draft picks on the field at one time. And if you think about that team, Jameis Winston, I mean, they pretty much ran Clemson about at the stadium. But, to look at 2013 and what they have now, I think Willie Taggart's still laughing to the bank. But you still have, his guys that are there now, right? And you have a culture that really hasn't rebounded since what's the guy? Texas A&M.
Jimbo Fisher.
That
wasn't
left.
exactly a beautiful end.
No, it wasn't at all. But here's the thing. Here's the thing. That's the reason why Clemson is so successful is because they have the athletic director, the president, board of trustees, and the athletic department all in together, and they have the same vision. Now, when you don't have that, you have what Florida State has. When you have the booster club and the AD wanting something totally different than what the coaching staff and everybody else wants, and that's why Jimbo left.
All right, Reggie, before we let you go, because we're going to be bringing in Billy D to pick some games here in the final segment, give our audience an idea. If you can't be playing, it's always fun to be part of it. And you get to sit there and analyze the X and O's, work with the great Don Munson, Tim Beret, all these guys. It has to be a pleasure to be able to serve that role as sideline reporter for the network.
Well, I tell you what, it was weird at first, but, can't be a part of it on the field, so why not be a part of it off the field? And I tell a lot of guys, man, there's a lot of stuff to do outside of playing football, and this is just one of the amazing things that I've been afforded to do. Obviously, Bill DeAndre is one of those guys that invested in me heavily, and I can't thank him enough. Look up to him so much, and obviously being surrounded by older guys that have tried to coach me into doing a lot of other stuff too. But working with Don Munson, Ben Milstead, all those guys, man, it's just been an awesome experience, and I thank you for Clemson to give me the opportunity to do it. And it gets a little cold on the sideline sometimes, but other than that, man, it's enjoyable. So I enjoyed it a lot.
You've been so grateful with your time with me over the years, so gracious with your time. I'm so grateful for that. And Reggie, we're very, very proud of you. And again, hope y'all have a great call tomorrow night, 8 p.m. there in the Valley. Hey, now that you can get restaurants up to 100% now, might we see some more people in the stands coming up later this year? That's one of the questions remains to be seen. But Reggie Mayweather, again, great Clemson running back from 2003 to 2006, even a better person. But Cindy Granny Isaacs, we talk about all in all the time, and one of the ways that you can do that is with BYOG gear.
Absolutely. I am here with two of our staff members that help this show go smoothly. I have Zach here and McKenna. And Zach and McKenna are wearing two of the BYOG gear sweatshirts. This is the custom-made tie-dye sweatshirt that has the patent-pending face gear already sewn in. It's very comfortable, right, Zach?
Oh, yeah.
And then I have also custom-made sweatshirts that you can get. Just give them a call and they will do both of these for you. We also have another person that is wearing a, thank you guys, Darby. Tell us about what you're wearing, Darby.
I'm wearing the cropped hoodie, also Allmar product, same sewn in. It's getting a little cold, but still warm, still comfortable. They're actually wearing the, like you said, the hoodie. That one runs $80. Patent pending. All of the Allmars are patent pending. This one's $60, and then our t-shirts are $40. They also make masks. We have them here at CSN Live, and then we also have them online at byoggear.com.
And you can find that on Clemson Sports News website too. Also, these are made in the USA. They have a very luxury feel to them. I bought two of them for birthday gifts, and they are, again, extremely comfortable.
Very comfortable.
All right, thank you guys.
Not only are we joined back up here by Bob Mahoney, but also one of my favorites when it comes to Clemson University. I did some research. The pride of Morgan, Pennsylvania. The sixth best offensive lineman in Indiana State University history, as you shared that story with me a little bit ago, Billy D. But, you know, when I think of Clemson University, there is a lifetime of experience right here between Joe Bostic, Billy D, Bob Mahoney. But to give you a little bit of an idea on Billy D, Bill DeAndrea, more than a quarter century in roles here, started as a grad assistant under Danny Ford, came back from Ole Miss in 1986, has been the head of Vickery Hall. He's led campaigns for fundraising. He's also been an athletic director at Anderson University and going into the Hall of Fame. I mean, To me, Billy D, that kind of defines Clemson University.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
And you know, I miss our little get-togethers right outside the locker room at halftime back in the day. You know, we'd always go look and find each other and talk about what we saw in the first half. But give us an idea of, you know, again, Morgan, Pennsylvania to Indiana State University to what come here as a grad assistant under Danny Ford. Did you ever think that, 40 years later, you and your lovely wife would still be residing here in the upstate of South Carolina?
Actually, I came from a small coal mining town. My father was a coal miner, and I had the opportunity to go to Indiana State. And probably, if I wasn't on scholarship, probably wouldn't have had the opportunity to go to school. Probably would have went to the service or something. And, one of my mentors, and I'd be remiss not to mention, is Larry Vanderheyden. He was my coach at Indiana State, and I followed him to East Carolina as a graduate assistant. That was the first graduate assistantship that I took. And then went to Virginia and Catawba, Massanutten, and then later on when we got let go at Catawba, I came here to Clemson probably as a 32-year-old graduate assistant. And then Coach Ford gave me the opportunity to go to Southern Miss, and then I came back the next year and spent 30-some years here. So, but I've been very blessed, and I'm very grateful to the people that helped me and gave me opportunities to lead.
And that's what I love. You hear Reggie Mayweather talk about it. And Bob, you're with the Block C Club and everything, but it seems like from President Clements all the way down through Dan Radakovich to the staff, everybody's on the same page here at Clemson, and that's why you're seeing so much comfort in people wanting to be here and part of this great university that my whole family attended.
Well, it all starts with leadership. We all know that. And right now, Billy D's been around a long time, and actually I've been around probably longer than he has, since I started back in '72. So I've been associated with Clemson since then. But over the since President Clements has been here, it's the first time that really, the AD, the president of the university, and the head football coach have all been on the same page and seem to be going in the same direction for the university, and that's what really got things going. It has such good positive momentum right now, and we're just blessed. Winning takes care of a lot of stuff, as Coach Sweeney says. The fun's in the winning, and it is. And our fans are having a great time. We're having a lot of success right now, and we're blessed as a university, no question.
And you are, because I did not go here. I went to an SEC school that had a school of communications in the 1980s. But I will forever be grateful that my dad started the School of Packaging Science here at Clemson University. So we'll always kind of have that history in heritage as well. But are you guys ready to try to pick some games? I look for 5 that last week I did terrible.
Are we talking about baseball playoff games? Is that what we're going
to... The Braves advanced, and that's all we need to know. And our good buddy Qualk over at WCCP, boy, that had 0 runs in 2 games. That ain't going to win you a lot for the Big Red.
We're not talking baseball. I would love to talk baseball, but that's okay.
Last week I felt like I came out with a group of games that everybody went one direction. So I said, screw it, I'm going to go the other direction. I ended up looking like a fool. So I actually kind of went out and found some games I thought that we might get a little bit of.
And you'll go with us this week, and you'll look like a fool.
Yeah, you never know.
Hey, listen, it can be the blind leading the blind when it comes to us, Joe Bostic. But up in West Virginia, at noon tomorrow, Baylor 1-0 at West Virginia University, who's 1-1. Baylor's a 3-point favorite. We don't care about point spreads. I just really like what Neil Brown is starting to put together there in Morgantown, West Virginia. I'm going to go with with West Virginia in this ballgame.
I'm going with Baylor.
Okay.
Because the environment at West Virginia is usually what is so neat, but there's no environment in college football right now, except for the environment that you generate on the sidelines. So I'm going with Baylor.
I'd echo that. I think I'd go with Baylor.
All right.
It's a tough one. I'm going to go with my good friend and look like a fool next week, and I'll go with West Virginia.
Okay, good.
We don't have to be here next week, so it doesn't matter.
No. Listen,
You do, Joe.
If y'all beat us, this will be all over social media, and you'll never be invited back here to Lakeside Lodge. At 4 p.m. tomorrow, Ole Miss at Kentucky. Both of them are 0-1. Kentucky's a 5-point dog, but Lane Kiffin, the Lane train got run over by Florida, and maybe Florida is actually the third best team in the country. I don't know. But what do you think, Bob Mahoney, about Ole Miss at Kentucky tomorrow?
I'm going to go with Kentucky. I have no reason for it, but that's my pick.
I would go with Kentucky too. I think they're pretty good on defense, and they're playing well.
Right again, gentlemen. I will go with the Kentucky Wildcats.
I'm with you on that, and I like Mark Stoops, and he should have parlayed that 10-win season in Lexington. That hadn't happened since, 1976 under Fran Kersey. He should have parlayed that into another
My senior
job.
year. Yeah, that's a long time.
And a big defensive end named Art Still.
Yeah. Art Still.
And I still remember him because I played against him. He was one heck of a ball player.
Okay, in the ACC tomorrow, 3:30, number 12, North Carolina, 1-0 on the year at Boston College. Boston College is a 13-point dog up there in this game at Alumni Stadium. But the concern for me is North Carolina hadn't played a ball game in 3 weeks. So you guys are the football players. You guys are the athletes. Can you knock that rust back off when you've been out for 3 weeks?
I'd go with North Carolina.
I'd go with North Carolina too. I just think the quarterbacks make a difference.
Yeah.
And I think they got more experience there. And
yeah, I think basketball prevails.
I'm going to go with Boston College because I think they've got one of the most underrated offensive lines in the country, and they have that ability at home to keep the ball out of the other team's hand. And you add that with a running back, and even though he was a defensive coordinator at The Ohio State University, that new coach looks pretty good as well. I'll take Boston College.
And maybe a little chilly up there.
That's true. All right, also at 3:30 tomorrow, Big 12, Texas Tech. Who in the world would vote at Texas number 3 this week after that overtime miracle against a mediocre Texas Tech team last week? The Red Raiders are on the road, 1-1 at Kansas State, who did Clemson and a lot of fans some good last week in knocking off Oklahoma. Kansas State's a 2.5-point favorite.
I got to go with Little Manhattan. K-State.
Okay.
I say K-State too. I think they're going to, from the momentum of beating Oklahoma, I think that'll carry over.
plus it's at K-State too, right?
That is correct. It's at K-State.
Yeah. Texas Tech, I think they left a lot on the field last week. It was a valiant effort. But,
it was a great effort, but you got to recover that onside kick there at the end of the game. And then guess what? The Big 12 would literally be dying on a vine right now. Ooh. No doubt about it. And then finally at 7:30 tomorrow night, number 7 Auburn, 1-0 on the year at number 4 Georgia. Georgia is a 6-point favorite, but boy, they had a rough first half out in Fayetteville last week. The oldest rivalry in the South, not named Furman Wofford. Okay? Did you realize that? That is the deal with Auburn and Georgia. I just think there's too much defense for the Bulldogs. They'll win this at home between the hedges.
I'm going with Auburn. I watched a little bit of that Georgia Vanderbilt game, and I did not think they ran the ball very well. I think they're unsettled at quarterback, and I'm going to go with Auburn.
I think because of all I've heard today, everybody's going with Auburn. I'm going to go with Georgia.
Yeah.
I think Georgia knows how to turn momentum around and win big games when they have to.
I am going to go with the Fighting Chad Morrises. The Auburn Tigers, War Eagle, I don't know, they got to make 6.
Clemson without a lake.
Yeah.
That's who you're going with, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, listen.
Who's writing all this down? Who's writing all this down?
I got it right here,
okay.
And we will put these out online. If I win, we'll put them out. If not, I won't say a word, and guess what? You guys can take your victory in small doses. But Bob Mahoney, thank you for all you do. Listen, I think Monty Lee's really excited about some of the younger players in this baseball program. And I saw earlier today he was saying, as a matter of fact, he thinks those freshmen need a little bit more attention to detail from him. So he's going to be working a lot with them here during the fall camp.
Yeah, finishing 17-3 last year.
Yep.
And really starting to play really well. They had a great pitching staff, and some of the young hitters were starting to come around. He was putting them in the lineup, and the guys were really taking off and playing like they should. And he's got some more pitchers coming in this year that are strong. Lost 3 really solid pitchers to the major leagues this past year. But I think he's so excited to get back on the field he can't stand it. You can imagine those that got a 56 game schedule cut down to 17. Those guys are ready to get back on the field.
No doubt. Bill DeAndrea, affectionately known to all of us as Billy D. I mean, you've been a class act for us for so long. Thank you very much for your service to not only Clemson, but the upstate and everything else that you've done.
Thank you, Mark. I appreciate that.
And then for
These two guys here, did great work at the university, but I tell you, when you come back, Bob and Billy D, these guys were beloved. I mean, they did neat stuff for a lot of kids, and and when you come back, you're 35 years old, you're in business, you want to come back to these guys that really helped you out. During those early college days when, hey, I want to go home, I want to see mom, I want to see my girlfriend or whatever. These guys had the ability to say, just hang in here, it's going to get better, just relax, go to class. Really did some good work, and very beloved pair here.
Well, it made my job a lot easier tonight, just like Lakeside Lodge here in Clemson, the only resort hotel here in the Clemson area. You can rent or own a unit. They have a farm-to-table restaurant, Traditions on the Lake, a poolside bar located right here in Hartwell Village. You can hear the band getting ready to get started up back here, the Eric Weiler Band. Again, thanks to BYOGgear.com. They represent the All In Foundation, Ingles Supermarkets, Hall of Fame Sports Grill, 531 Wade Hampton Boulevard, and then finally Russ Abear with Rebacks Foothills. Give him a call at 864-654-4345 and let Russ find the right fit for you. Next week, Jim Stuckey. He will be our guest here live, and
that'll be a good one.
He's going to be fun. And then also one of my favorite, I don't know how to say that, one of my favorite little redheads, Andrea Adelson, who covers the ACC for ESPN.com. She does a fantastic job, and we'll tell you what they're doing with diapers in the Central Florida area, because people need help. But hey guys, thanks for checking us out. We'll be back here next week as we get you ready for Clemson Miami for CSN Live at Lakeside Lodge.